poster, my next book was To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee, and so I read it. Again, I remember reading it in high school. I remember not really understanding it. I think it's a really important read. I don't think it should be taught in high school. I think it should be taught in like a college elective class, and it should be prefaced and maybe not even required. The use of the N-word made me really uncomfortable, and if I were a teenage person of color and I was reading this in high school and we were analyzing the way that, what's his name? Tom Robinson, and the way he was treated, or the way Calpurnia is treated, I would be immensely uncomfortable. Even as a white person reading it for my own amusement, I'm immensely uncomfortable. I get that it's set in 1939. I'm pretty sure that's the year that was mentioned. I get that it was written way long ago. This particular copyright is from 1960, so it was written before then. I don't think it should be taught in schools. I don't think it should be required. But I do think people should read it of their own volition. It is an important story. It's an important viewpoint. Maybe if it was handled with more tact in schools, then it would be okay. But I remember reading this in high school, and we were all white, and we held a mock trial where we were the jury, and we decided whether or not we wanted to convict the fictional Tom Robinson, and like most of the class wanted to convict him. It was a bad activity. It was a bad thing to do in class. It was terrible. And the teacher just went along with it, and if we had looked at it from a literary standpoint, the use of analogies, the way that we're showing this through Scout's eyes as opposed to Atticus's eyes, that we're seeing it through the eyes of a child, that choice of narrative, if we talked about that, it would have been fine. But because of the way we look at this piece of literature, it suddenly becomes not okay. It's a great story. It makes me uncomfortable. The language, the treatment, I think it's important to read it and to be uncomfortable and to realize that while we haven't grown so far away and really understand the world as seen through Jem and Scout's eyes, we've still reached a point where we are uncomfortable. And I think that's important, but I don't think it should be taught in schools, and I definitely don't think it should be taught in schools where the majority is white and there's either no person of color or one person of color, because then they become a scapegoat. But anyway, it's a great story. I highly recommend it. Take it with a grain of salt. If you're offended by the N-word, do not read it. It literally every other sentence contains it. It faces important questions, or it answers, well, I don't think it answers important questions, but it poses important questions, and right now especially I think it is important. Maybe not as important as Between the World and I, or anything by Ta-Nehisi Coates, or, who's the other one? Well, anything really written by a person of color about the modern struggle. I still think it's an important read, and it's something that everyone should read at some point, just not in a school. If you haven't read it, quick summary: Atticus is a lawyer and attorney. Jem and Scout are his son and daughter respectively, and they have a friend named Dill, like the pickle, or I guess the weed. Anyway, Dill. And you see the town, it's Maycomb, I think, through Scout's eyes. You see everything through Scout's eyes, and she's 6, I think, maybe 8. She's not even 9 is what Jem says all the time. Jem, I think, is 12, 13. But you see the town through their eyes. You see Boo Radley, who stays inside his house. There's a whole bunch of rumors about him. They're trying to get him out of the house. One summer, as children do, they make poor choices. They get scared over shadows. It's really like a child summer experience in a small town. And then there's this trial of Tom Robinson, and Atticus is assigned as his court-assigned attorney. The charges against Robinson are that he raped one of the daughters of a farming family, and Atticus is supposed to prove his innocence, which, if you look at the evidence supplied, he is innocent, and the only reason he gets convicted is because he's black, and the jury decides that they trust a white person's testimony over a black person's testimony. And it's upsetting. It's really upsetting. Boo Radley turns out to be a nice person who just wants to help and is just tired of Maycomb and doesn't want to deal with that. Yeah, it's a good story. It's a difficult story. I've definitely started it and then stopped it and then started it and then stopped it. It's just, it makes you question things about gender roles, race. It makes you question the correlation between poverty and education, access to education. Just, it tackles a whole bunch of issues and it looks at them through a child's eyes who doesn't fully understand it, but you as an adult, because I highly suggest you read this as an adult, can see more than Scout can, but you can also appreciate her childlike viewpoint and how right and wrong is so easy and that grown-ups just make it so difficult. And I think it's an important story. That doesn't mean it didn't make me uncomfortable, but I think we should be made uncomfortable. Otherwise, we won't change anything. So, yeah, next book is Moby Dick, the longest adventure book where nothing really happens. I'm gonna read it anyway. I've never gotten through Moby Dick. I've gotten maybe halfway through. But if you have another book you'd like me to read, or if you think I should stop reviewing books, let me know, and I'll see you when I see you, because the world is crazy right now. Bye.